I had a cool thing going here, and then I kind of stopped doing it. So let's talk about that. For those of you who don't know me, I go by Ad Noctum Media, Ad Noctum, any kind of permutation of that is fine. First on YouTube, nowadays on Twitch. We'll get to that. But I had this channel that primarily over the COVID, the lockdown and pandemic and isolation and all that, I was uploading videos here pretty regularly, mostly video essay type stuff about all sorts of topics that I found interesting: sci fi, futurism, philosophy, technology, all of that stuff. And I kept up with it until about August of 2022, I believe. And then I just stopped. It's funny, I'm actually a little nervous. I speak all the time to a camera. I record myself all the time, but this is the first time I'm addressing this channel in 3 years, and it's bringing back a lot of memories and things like that. So why do I say I abandoned the channel? Well, I got it to a point where a lot of people would love to have what I had with the channel. I got it up to 22,000 subscribers, which is mind-blowing to me. I still have a hard time understanding and accepting that number. And it also, helped me out financially. The videos, they allowed me to buy my first laptop for editing and gaming. They helped me pay for an editor and professional licenses and all this stuff that really kicked off more videos. So why would I have left if I had all of that going, if I had that platform where I could still reach people, I was bringing in some money? What was it that caused me to step away? And I think this will be of interest whether you are new to the channel and you're curious about the creator side of YouTube, or if you used to watch my videos and here you are 3 years later getting a notification, a ping that I'm uploading something again, which if that is you, I'm sorry for the radio silence. So to understand why I stopped doing it, you have to understand why the channel was made in the first place. The name of the channel, Ad Noctum Media, had meaning to me. So I basically started this channel in 2019 after I had lost my job and I had a lot of stuff go on. I lost my grandpa, I lost my childhood dog. I was diagnosed with narcolepsy, and that was when I lost my job. I was a contractor at the time, so I wasn't really officially fired. They just stopped calling me in for work because I was a liability. I was having trouble showing up on time. I was falling asleep at my desk, things like that. And it gutted me. It took a lot out of me because up until then, I had prided myself on being a self-starter and a hard worker. I worked full-time and overtime even while going to college. And I was always falling behind the ball because I had this undiagnosed narcolepsy, but I just thought I had to push through it. And then eventually I hit a point where I worked so hard that my body stopped and there was no more pushing through it. So the name Ad Noctum came from the fact that I was living with this combination of sleep disorders. It's not just the narcolepsy, but also hypersomnia and delayed sleep phase syndrome, and what I later found out was chronic fatigue syndrome, all of that. And I was essentially sleeping 14, 15 hours a day. And in the later half of the year, the winter, when days are shorter, I would often go days or weeks without seeing sunlight. So that ad noctum, that into night, that was a recognition of I'm taking back control of the time that I have, and I'm going to do with it what I want. So I started doing gaming videos, and I started doing SCP reading and things like that. It was just stuff that I was into, that I had a good time with, that I was going to say, hey, if my condition is stopping me from the career that I trained for and went to school for and was passionate about, and if I can't handle a full-time job right now, I'm at least going to use the time that I can control to do something that interests me, that I always wanted to do while I was busy with work and school. So I did that for a little while, and then COVID came around, and I ended up dropping my lease because I was no longer working and I could only afford it for so many months. then I moved back in with family. And over COVID, I ended up living in an RV in my parents' yard for several years in a pretty rural area. Not a lot of connection, not good internet, not anything like that, but good enough that I could, if I allowed for some buffering, I could watch some YouTube videos. If I set aside some time for upload, I could upload some YouTube videos. And around this time, I came across another creator. It was a video game creator who had mentioned using YouTube as a way to help pay their bills and support themselves. And I thought, well, I still have really limited capability right now, but I feel like I'm capable of telling a story and talking to people and putting stuff together. Let's try YouTube. And I had all this stuff that I didn't have anybody to talk about this stuff with anyway. So it was me exploring topics I was interested in and putting them out there. So fast forward a little bit, I experimented with a couple of things, and I had two videos that really sort of went viral to an extent. One of them has now ended up with nearly 1 million views, the other with 4.2 million views. And those videos changed the entire YouTube experience for me. They got me into the YouTube Partner Program. They started bringing me subscribers. I was getting comments so fast I couldn't keep up with them on my phone. There was obviously the financial incentives that come along with receiving, multi-millions of views. And it really changed my perspective on YouTube from, let's see if I can do this, to, wow, I'm doing this. But those videos were not necessarily anything that I was the most proud of. There was the Beksinski video, which, I've still got the Beksinski prints hanging in my room. That was an artist that I actually enjoy. And I am proud of the fact that I took something that I was interested in and I talked about it and I turned it into something that, with just a slideshow and a royalty-free, public museum performance of a music piece that I enjoyed and my thoughts, it was something that it seemed to resonate with people. And what's funny is, even later, meeting people when I'm streaming on Twitch, I had people say, hey, I saw your Beksinski video. I knew you before we knew each other through Twitch. And that was really cool. And then there was the big video on my channel, the human head transplant one. And that one was the most successful and the most controversial on my channel today. I get accused a lot of clickbaiting it. And, all I can say is, maybe I did, and maybe what I thought I was doing was not what I was actually doing. I never set out for that video to be a, let's make this a click farm video and get a ton of views. It was an experiment, and I honestly wish there's probably a dozen or 15 other videos that if I could take that video and give it the view of the human head transplant one, I would have been way happier with. The audio quality was bad. The writing was not my strongest. The video was put together by an editor on Fiverr, who, by the way, did a solid job with what I gave him to work with. Not his fault at all that I'm not proud of the video, but it is just not my best work. And that was where the internal conflict started to come in, where this video got over 4 million views. And I took that money and I hired an editor and I got a stock footage license and I started putting together these other videos that I was like, okay, now I have some views coming in. Let's create something I'm really proud of and passionate about. And I started doing hours of research and sourcing and trying to talk about things that I didn't hear anybody else talking about that really captured my attention. But I never was a very visual person when it came to videos. I always saw my major creative input being the research and the writing and the voiceover delivery. That was always what I thought was my main value proposition. And I really thought about my videos, they call them video essays, but I really thought about them almost as like a podcast or a story presentation that happened to have some accompanying visuals, either where it was necessary to demonstrate something or just because that's what you do on YouTube. You don't necessarily upload a still photo and talk over it. You know, you have at least something keeping visual interest going. But safe to say, none of those other videos touched a fraction of what the human head transplant video did. A lot of them got a couple thousand views, on up to some of the better performing ones got up to like 20,000 views. And when you look at it from a financial standpoint, I was paying an editor who lived in the US based wages. They basically whatever they asked for that they felt was fair for the amount of time that they put in, I paid them. And it wasn't egregiously expensive, but it was not inexpensive. And I might spend a couple $100 having a video edited and stock footage put together and everything to create a visual presentation that I was really proud of that matched the video topic that I was talking about. And then it might turn around and make $10. And no, I wasn't doing it solely for the money, but it was something where I was trying to see if I could make a living, or at least a partial living, and support myself in my new circumstances doing that, given that I was struggling to maintain like basic working conditions and income. And combine that with the fact that it felt like a lack of validation, that I can unintentionally clickbait people into giving me millions of views on something that I really was not so happy with the way it turned out. And then I could spend hours working on something that deep inside really felt like I resonated with it and that I was excited for other people to see and I was sure would do well. And then it would just do what in my mind was a flop. And I did this for about a year and a half, 2 years, where I kept making these videos and researching them and talking about these topics. And, you know, in my mind, I had to have that strong visual appeal, and it had to look professional. It had to be put together like a professional presentation. And long story short, I burned myself out on those expectations. I got overwhelmed, perhaps by being underwhelmed with how the videos were doing. And it just, it became difficult. Part of the whole narcolepsy and chronic fatigue syndrome and everything is brain fog that makes it difficult to stay on a task mentally and focus and all of that. And it was a chore where I tried all kinds of tricks to get back into focusing and keeping up output, and it was every day was a struggle with it. And, you know, whether that's the brain fog or whether that's, you know, depression or whatever it is what it is. You know, that was the reality of it. And then in 2022, during a bout of COVID, when I could not go hang out with my friends, I was watching another YouTube gaming creator and I got onto their Twitch VODs. And I thought, oh, this Twitch thing looks interesting. While I'm sitting here alone in my bed, sleeping half the day and miserable the other half, at least let me get some, you know, feeling of socialization. So I signed up for Twitch, started following the creator. I met some people on Twitch who would later become some of my best friends today. And I was on Twitch for about 3 months recreationally as a viewer, while still continuing to put out a little bit of YouTube content. And then I decided to try Twitch for myself. And what I found was, for the same amount of time that I would spend making a video, that same work on Twitch was a lot less lonely. And it came to me a lot more easily. And my brain just kind of connected with it a lot better. And at the same time, my editor, who did an amazing job with all of the videos that I had them work on, and who I have great respect for still today, informed me that they just had too many other obligations. They couldn't keep up with continuing to do these in-depth projects that I wanted to do. And sort of the views and the income from my one video were dwindling already at that point. And I came to the conclusion that without them, and even with them, really, I was coming to the point where I couldn't justify using their editing services anymore and paying that amount of money for something that was not returning for me on YouTube. And I guess in my mind, the way I had been doing videos was the only way that I could keep doing videos. I did not believe that I could simply pick a topic and talk about it, and people would be interested to watch. I didn't think that I could be the face of a video or anything like that. Now, with one exception, if you've been on this channel a long time, you've seen my narcolepsy videos and things like that. Those are just me talking to a camera, but I was not trying to present those as professional entertainment or edutainment videos. That was simply me, a person with narcolepsy, discussing my experience. So in my mind, that was okay. Versus the kinds of topics that I wanted to talk about, I felt had to be very authoritative, presented in a certain way, and I just didn't know how to keep doing that in conflict with all of these other things I was experiencing. So I never intended to stop uploading videos. There was never a day where I said I quit this channel. There was just a slow slide into difficulties and lack of drive to keep doing it, followed by an avoidant pattern that I have unfortunately fallen into most of my life, where if I take time away from something without explaining it, then I fear how people are going to feel about that and the awkwardness around it, and it becomes difficult for me to address it, so I continue to avoid it, and the problem worsens the deeper in I get, where I feel it has been longer and longer since I have made myself known or communicated or anything like that. And that is how I end up not touching a channel with 22,000 subscribers for 3 years. So, all of that to say, why is this video being uploaded now? Well, part of it is because every couple of months, somebody comments and says, hey, where'd you go? Why'd you stop uploading? That sort of stuff. And I feel like eventually people who invested their time in checking into my videos and things like that, well, they deserve an answer as to what happened, where I went. People supported me. People took time to check in, leave feedback, all of that stuff, and I just kind of up and disappeared. So to some level, it's about me just saying, hey, this is what happened. On another level, though, being a Twitch streamer and making video game YouTube content and things like that, it's made me realize that maybe I was putting standards on myself and believing things that were not true, and that maybe there is a future for me to make videos in a way that doesn't require that I have to have a half-hour perfectly presented and curated visual backdrop of professional footage. And that maybe if I just talk about things that people want to hear or don't know that they want to hear but become interested in them, that maybe I can keep doing what I was doing at some level. So this is not a content promise. This is not a guarantee of what's to come on the channel, but I believe I would like to try making videos again, but things will be different. It will probably be more of this style here. There may still be some images and videos and things like that spliced in, but most likely it will be me talking either directly to a camera or with props or with a screen recording or something like that. And I don't really know what the content is going to be. It could share similar themes to what's already on the channel. It could be something else. It could be more lifestyle vlog content. I'm not really sure. But what I am sure is that I realize I've let 3 years go by with a great advantage. Like I said, many people would love to have a YouTube channel that is in the partner program and has these subscribers and has this library. And I am very proud of the videos I put out. I've kept them on archived drives the whole time, just in case something ever happened to the YouTube channel, so I could have them to look back on. But maybe I can be proud of things that I do in a different format. So that's where I'm going to leave this for here. Once again, if you were a viewer of the videos from years ago and I just fell off and you wondered why, all I can say is I'm sorry that it happened that way. And I'd like to think today that I know more about myself and my patterns and how to be respectful of people's time and investment, that I would be more clear about what's going on. So the clarity that I want to put out is that I don't know what it looks like or for how long I will attempt to make content on this channel, but that I'm going to give it a try again and see what it reignites, see what it makes me feel, see how I can fit it into my schedule, and we will go from there. I will also say, if you are interested in this type of content, but about different things, I do stream on both Twitch and YouTube, and I have a gaming YouTube. I talk about gaming stuff, I put game playthroughs and things like that. I will put a link to that. Whether you join Twitch or YouTube, the live streams are the same, so you can be on either platform. I have also just recently started a music YouTube channel. Right now, it's mostly reactions to music, but as you might be able to guess from my surroundings, music is a big part of my life. I would like to react to music and talk about music that I love, albums that had an impact on me, music and video games. I would love to get into some stuff about instruments and the instrument choices that I've made to be able to have longer playing sessions with chronic fatigue and things like that. That's really enough of a plug and an overview of what the channel is about to say if you want to keep up with that, I will link my other YouTube channels and my social media. I do have a Discord, I have an Instagram, so places where you can keep up with me if you want to see in general what's been going on, what will be going on. And especially in the case of Discord, if you'd like to have a place to talk about content, what you might like to see from the channel going forward, things like that, that would absolutely be the place to do it. I think the only appropriate way to end this video is to thank the people of YouTube for giving me the opportunity of running this channel and it having had the success that it had, the impact and momentum it had on me creating content in other ways, and just the unique place that it's had in my life as a creative activity and something that I just decided to do. And the way that it returned things to me is something that I feel really privileged to have had. And I hope to keep incorporating that into my life in some way. So there may have been a long, indefinite hiatus on the channel, but whether it ends up being this channel or one of my other socials, I'd like to think of that as a footnote, and I would love to look back in the future and see that this was the start of a different era for me. Now, the thing with eras is you never really know what the era is or contains or when it starts or stops until you're looking back on it. It gets named retrospectively. So the only way that we will know what that looks like is once we've already been there and done that. But I'm looking forward to the process. So whether you were here because you're just curious about the creator side of YouTube, or you're a longtime viewer who decided to click a notification that came out of the blue after 3 years of silence, I just want to say thank you for your time. I hope good things for you. I hope you take care of yourself, and I hope to see you for more videos. Thank you very much.